Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European Rover Challenge here in Krakow, in Poland. I have the honor to be here with Janet Ivey, the founder, owner, CEO, whatever name, of Janet's Planet.
Yes, I've been doing Janet's Planet for over 25 years, and all in the hopes of inspiring the next generation of astronauts, engineers, architects, artists, and technologists of the future. And I've seen the benefits, and it's like the long-term kind of outcomes of that. So now I have several female graduates that have graduated with their degrees in astrophysics. I've got a couple of kids starting college this year, either pursuing aerospace or mechanical engineering. So it's kind of fun after this whole entire time in the arc of what I've been doing is to see these kids that I have mentored or taught actually going into these fields.
Because is it mentoring and tutoring? Tell us a little bit about what Janet's Planet exactly is.
So it's like I always like to say, I'm a galaxy of things. It's hard to describe, right? So part of me, part of Janet's Planet is communication and or public television and or news interviews. The other part of Janet's Planet is online, is in person, is a theater show, is a camp about space. And so it's multiple things because I want to create multiple entry points for whatever students I am in front of. And it was during the pandemic that I taught online. And when we kind of counted up how many children we had reached, we had really zoomed with almost 10,000 kids in that amount of time. And I noticed that it was that daily, consistent presence that, especially during that time, that kids were interested. And I'm not sure that that changes any, even when we're face to face. And just like here at the European Rover Challenge, what's beautiful is that these kids are getting a real experience, a real challenge for a very real environment, and then getting to actually speak and talk with the experts who are planning these amazing
So
missions.
tell us why that is so important.
It's important because all of a sudden they can see themselves doing this and not just some fun robotic project that they worked on in one class in 1 year. And so yesterday, probably the most profound thing that I saw is that after I had witnessed a team out there at the Mars Yard, there they were circled around Joe Cassidy, who has over 30 patents in rocket propulsion. Plus, Joe's an extremely great guy. We're colleagues in Explore Mars. And again, it was the joy of those gentlemen talking with this rocket guy. And again, you go, how many of those are going to walk away going, yeah, if that guy says I can do it, why? I, I think I can. So I think it's important to the space industry. If you want a workforce, you have to have folks like myself, folks like Remco, who are out here trying to spread the word, trying to get educational opportunities out there for any student who wants to. And that's all the way from kindergarten through undergraduate and graduate work. We want to make sure that we're prepping the kids and this generation for what we have been dreaming of all our lives.
Well, you mentioned the industry. Why is this so important for the space industry? And what is our role, our contribution, our added value, if you like, to the space industry? And why should the space industry work with people like you and me and the dozens of colleagues that we have?
I think that we take this technical jargon of the space industry and we make it palatable, right? Because it's like, unless people like figure out why it's relevant to their lives, they're like, space, whatever. They're spending too much money when there's too many
Right.
problems here on Earth. So I think, complete non-humility and totally full of hubris is that the space industry needs folks like us because we can communicate the message to the public, to the just students, to the general public in a way that they go, oh, if I love GPS and I love knowing what temperature it is and I love knowing when the storm's blowing in or I love connectivity, that's all because of what's happening in space.
Right.
So yeah, I think we're entirely important to the space industry because otherwise, how do their messages get out there?
So awareness, outreach, bringing the message, the benefits of space to society is one thing. But can the industry benefit perhaps in other areas? We talk about workforce development.
Workforce development, again, I think if we But it's a two-way street. I can do all that I can possibly do to get a kid that's interested in STEM and engineering and math and calculus and all of those great things. But at the same time, the industry needs to meet us halfway and be those mentors, open up
Hmm.
those doors and say, here, come and intern here with
Right.
us. We see the value you bring. And so to me, that's kind of like, that's also got to be a partnership where I would like to see the space industry even come to us and like, hey, we need you to kind of like tell the general public about this endeavor.
Right.
So I think there's value there, but there's like also a partnership. I mean, to me, it's like what's grander to a space company than knowing that they have people and students out there who will someday be their
Well,
employees.
and that's a key word is that these are potential employees. Yet amongst kids and students, there's all sorts of misconceptions about the industry, about it being inaccessible, about it you requiring a STEM degree or being a rocket scientist. So,
And let me be clear, it's like I sort of dwell in the land of STEM, but I love theater, I love
mhm,
communications. It's like my undergrad's in music and theater. So I would encourage you and to really think of this, that it worked for Da Vinci. He let his art inform his science inform his art. And so if you are an artist, there's a great guy named Pat Rawlings, famous kind of graphic designer for NASA. He got hired as an artist to conceptualize what the engineers were kind of creating. Okay, Pat, like, let's see what this actually
right.
could look like in the environment. And then Pat said sometimes he would go, they left off a door handle or a window or something. The engineers would come back and go, oh my gosh, Pat, you're so correct. So if you're a musician, I don't know that I know very many people in the space industry who don't have either something musical
Mm.
that they do or theatrical that they do. So I guess it's like, as far as accessibility goes, I think for students out there, you have to be persistent and you have to be willing to also knock on the doors. But I will tell you this, if you were to reach out as a student and I can in some way be a conduit to an opportunity, I say yes. And funny thing is, my friend Remco also is a yes guy.
Of course.
If we can't, we'll tell you. But I think it's also that thing of like, you just have to be willing to ask and come forward. And it's like, and I think always our job and the space industry's job is to create the invitation.
Yeah.
You are welcome. Whatever race, color, creed, religion, whatever, whomever, whatever you are, we want you. There's a space for you. We want representation by everybody. So I think the space industry, those are the ways it can benefit. It's like, if they assist us in this partnership of accessibility and invitations, but invitations like this for participation and like this, for them to get to really kind of talk to experts in the field, I think that makes a huge difference. It's like, I do know in many regards that the space industry is grateful for the work that we do. Um, and I think, in my like last 25 years, I will say that I've seen these people kind of like begin, these students go into certain careers. But, if you love communications, think about it. It's like, who's going to do the first movie on Mars? Hopefully, not, I mean, it might be Tom Cruise, but it could be you, right?
It should be you,
It
yeah.
should be you. It's forget, yeah. And but it's those are the things that I think about. It's like, because somebody's going to have to communicate that story. Who's going to be the historian of our travels on the moon and Mars? So I don't know that I have answered your question
Well,
adequately.
you've given us a lot of handles for
Yeah.
people out there to maybe change their perception a little bit. Use the conduits, as you say, to find that place in space. Because as you say, that place in space is there.
Yeah.
The space industry is very open, is very friendly, yet it has this outside perception that it isn't. But the space industry has changed quite dramatically. Let's talk a little bit about the
Yeah.
changes in the industry and how that opens up some opportunities, and how, again, the industry can use us as communicators to bring that message out that hey, the industry now is not what the industry was in the 1960s.
Absolutely. When I came onto the scene, maybe I should encourage you. Maybe one of the best ways that you really create kind of like those connections as a student or undergrad, postgrad, et cetera, that come to a conference,
Mm.
come and like stand in the lobby, stand near the networking event, and see how many people that you can meet. My first one was back in 2008 at the International Space Development Conference for the National Space Society. And I just was curious. And so I walked into the rooms and I would listen to people. And if someone really drew me in, I decided to meet them and I grabbed their card. Here's the other thing that I think that students and anyone out there should know. You want to be part of this grand adventure called space. If someone says, hey, reach out to me, let's connect, don't let that card sit there. Make that connection. But I will say, when I came along in 2008, I found everyone that they're like, what do you do? Oh, that's great. You know what we need? An invitation very quickly came from Space Florida for me to do a documentary on
Right.
microgravity, fly in the zero G plane, and then they gave it away to Florida Virtual School. So I had the beautiful experience of that as I showed up to these different places from the Human and Mars Summit, et cetera, that they were like, yeah, welcome in. So I think that's how it's changed because we are at a critical time. Space 2.0, the next space race. You're in your lifetimes. I'm hoping in our lifetimes, but definitely in your lifetimes, we're going to see people back on the moon and
Oh,
on their way
yes.
to Mars. And I hope that it's some of the students that I have had the chance to whisper good things into. And I'm going to be like the granny sitting there like, Mars. But I just say get connected, get out there. But what I've experienced is just this overwhelming come be one and see yourself in space. So that's how I think it's changed. So I would say wipe away all of those preconceptions and judgments because your story's similar.
Of
First
course.
time you went to see a space shuttle launch. Tell
Yeah.
them about that.
Yeah, no, exactly. I will. Not now because it's way too long story, but
But
no,
it's
I
a
will.
beautiful story. But
Yeah.
you felt very accepted, very kind of like encouraged to like, hey, I might
Well,
want to
and
be
that's
part of
the
that.
key thing when I actually did that after 15 years not doing it because I had these misconceptions. People said, "Remco, you're super welcome." And hey,
Yes.
where have you been all this time?
Yes. That is where I would like to debunk that. If anyone treats you badly, you email me and I will find them and I will shut them down. But I will like, what are you thinking? But I don't find that to be true at all.
No.
I find people to go, oh, come on in. You're one of us. It's
Well,
like
and that's the thing. It's very welcoming. It's very open, and it's very human in a way. And the thing that I always say, and maybe I should say that in this video, is I joined the space industry for the technology, for the rockets, for the fire, for the awesomeness of it. But I stayed for the people because we're a family. We're a very welcoming family that is expanding very quickly. We're going to be a $2 trillion industry
yep.
in the next 10 years. There's amazing growth, amazing opportunities, and amazing people to work with because
Yes.
we work on the long-term future of humanity. And it sounds crazy and it sounds as if maybe other industries are not, but it's more explicit in what we do.
No, and it's like I think anybody listening is like, oh, they're too altruistic. They can't possibly be that kind. But last night at a dinner table, stretched out, people from all countries and different places, it's like there was real camaraderie. There wasn't one
Yeah.
person that I didn't speak to that was like, oh, that's so exciting what you do. So if you want to be around the best people in Team Human, I invite you to join us in space.
I think that was enough promotion for our industry. We've been talking for almost 15 minutes now. It's almost like a podcast. So that might be another idea, but that's a different story. Thank you very much, Janet.
Thank you,
Where
Remco.
can they find you if people haven't already found you?
That's simple. Just go to janetsplanet.com or you can find me on social media, either as Janet's Planet or Janet Ivey-Duensing. But I can't wait to see what everybody's going to do. It's an exciting time.
Absolutely. So if you're hesitating, stop doing that and just join us. Connect with Janet, connect with me. The events that you were talking about, spaceagenda.com has all of them. And most of these events are very welcoming and very open to see you there to talk to all these experts.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Janet, for your time and always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure with you. Everybody, think about seeing yourself in space.
Bye bye.